It's the Texans and the Vikings from Minnesota. Somebody's walking out 3-0 in this matchup. So, how could the 2-0 Vikings get this done? How could the 2-0 Texans get this done? And who will get it done? That's all coming your way, powered by my friends at BetUS YouTube 150. When you try out BetUS and your first deposit of the $2,000 is going to get that 150% bonus when you use that code YouTube 150. So, 3-0 on the line for these teams in this matchup. How could the Minnesota Vikings get it done? Well, for the Vikings, this is very much about keeping the Texans from being the Texans and making sure the Vikings take care of their business. Minnesota has been off to a really good start so far. They've done enough on offense through a couple of games, though they could have done half as much as they did in their first match against the Giants, and they'd have been just fine. But they did more than enough last week to take care of business against the 49ers. They scored enough points, and then their defense did a really good job of keeping Brock Purdy from being comfortable, taking him out of his game and keeping the 49ers a little bit off balance in that matchup. Minnesota's got to do a similar thing here. If they can get C.J. Stroud and the Texans offense to be a little bit disjointed, maybe even turn them into a one-dimensional offense because, say, they stop the rushing attack that doesn't feature Joe Mixon, they could heat Stroud up, access some of the issues in the pass blocking that the Texans have, and find themselves with a couple of pressure moments, turn Stroud over, and they find themselves with a little bit easier opportunity for Sam Darnold and this Vikings offense. Now, when the Vikings are on offense, this is a really tough defensive matchup for the Vikings. So how do they do it? Well, it's the same thing they did against San Francisco. They got to make things easy for Sam Darnold. Easy throws into space. Keep the train on time if you're the Vikings. Stay out of third and longs where Darnold can make some mistakes, and he's got to throw against Derek Stingley, Kamari Lassiter, the secondary for the Texans that has played pretty darn well through the first couple weeks, with the exception of a couple of plays against the Indianapolis Colts. If the Vikings can keep the train on time, move the ball, matriculate it down the field, and score enough points in tandem with heating up the Texans and forcing them to be one-dimensional, they might be able to walk out of here with a victory in this match. I'll tell you how the Texans win here in just a second, but let's check out this game over on BetUS. This is the line here for the game. It's down to a 1-point situation as the Texans is favored. We're going to make a wager here at the half, though. I could see both teams starting out a little slow on this one, a little feeling out process by both offenses against some pretty darn good defense. That lends itself to a little bit lower scoring situation. I don't feel super confident in this, but there's still a nice way to make a little bit of money on this, and you can get it going at BetUS just like I did. And when you sign up, use that code YouTube150 for a 150% bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit. They're even going to give you a bonus on the second and third deposit up to $2,000. That bonus is going to be 125%. So check them out, the code YouTube150. How do the Texans get this done? Well, I'm going to start with the defensive side for the Texans because I don't feel like San Francisco really got after Sam Darnold as much as they could have and should have last week. It was maddeningly easy for Darnold a couple times as you go back and watch that game. Throws into open areas, quick, easy stuff that went unchallenged early on. He hit a 97-yard bomb to Justin Jefferson where Jefferson just somehow got behind the defense. That can't happen for the Houston Texans, and I don't believe that will happen. Now, they blitzed a lot against Caleb Williams. I don't know that they're going to do it that much against Sam Darnold, but Darnold's only been blitzed a handful of times through a couple of games. He's got some of the most time to throw in the pocket of any quarterback in football right now. That's got to change if you're the Houston Texans. That's got to be success with your 4 defensive linemen, Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, Mario Edwards, and Foley Fatukasi. When Barnett's in there, when some of the other players are in there, you got to heat up Sam Darnold with just those 4 guys. Maybe you show him a little bit of heat, back off, and let him make a mistake, and the Texans take advantage of it. I do believe they're going to put a good amount of pressure on Sam Darnold, and that is going to be very difficult for the Vikings to handle. Talked about with the Vikings, keep the train on time. The Texans are looking to derail the train, and they can do that with their ability to rush the passer and get after the quarterback. And from a rushing standpoint, I don't know that we know if anybody's going to be able to run against the Texans. I kind of throw the Bears out. They stink on the ground, but Jonathan Taylor in week 2, he rattled off with ease a big game. And that was after the Texans had shut him down. And that Packers defense, not as prolific as the Texans defense, but Taylor got going. So we know it's not a Taylor and Colts issue. He was getting it going on the ground. So the Texans shut him down in week 1. I believe they could do the same to the Minnesota rushing game. And then from the Texans standpoint on offense, well, you got CJ Stroud. He's going to be able to do some things that Sam Darnold can't do in this game. You know, that drift where you kind of keep things alive. And there's Nico Collins for a big play. I'm sure we'll see that. The Vikings are prolific in getting after the passer as well. Coming into week 3 of NFL action, the only team with more sacks than the Texans, that was the Minnesota Vikings heading into this matchup. So they got to keep C.J. Stroud upright on offense. And when there is a little bit of heat, Stroud's got to be dynamic, release the pressure a little bit, and still go out there and make some plays. And with the way that teams have played the Texans through the first couple of weeks, hit some of that easy stuff over the middle. Stefon Diggs, get Tank Dell going over the middle. Utilize Dalton Schultz a little bit more. There will still be stuff for Nico, that deep in-breaking stuff, but get some stuff going quick and easy to really negate what the Vikings can do, bringing some heat and bringing some pressure there on CJ Stroud. And when it comes to running the football, just do good enough. This doesn't have to be Joe Mixon week 1 in Indianapolis to win this for the Houston Texans. It's just got to be suitable. Keep the Texans out of 2nd and longs and 3rd and longs. Don't allow the Vikings to make the team one-dimensional. And Cam Akers, Daria Gumbawale, British Brooks, and J.J. Taylor certainly seem like they could be able to do that. And if they do, the Vikings will have a hard time beating the Houston Texans. So who's going to win? I got the Texans in this one, 28-20. Feel like this one starts slow. Both offenses starting to find some things out about the opposing defense as the game goes on, make a couple of plays. And hey, C.J. Stroud, more dynamic than Sam Darnold. To get to 20, you're going to have to settle for a handful of field goals for the Vikings. To get to 28, you score 4 times. You put 4 extra points on the board. One of those probably goes to Stefon Diggs in his return to Minnesota, and the Texans walk out of here with a victory. I like their defense versus Darnold a whole lot more, and I like the ability of C.J. Stroud to be dynamic. They got after Brock Purdy last week. Purdy's a really good player. He's an operator. He's not an elevator. C.J. Stroud, he's an elevator. He takes it to the next level in matchups like this, and he'll do that against the Minnesota Vikings and lead the Texans to a win. What say you? What are your keys for the Vikings, the Texans? Let me know in the comment section down below on your way down there. Throw me a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And don't forget about my friends at BetUS. Use that code YouTube150 to get that 150% bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000 and a 125% bonus on those next 2 deposits up to $2,000. YouTube150 is the code. Appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoy your football Sunday. We'll talk Texans again soon.